What Mac should you buy and when should you buy it? MacVoices live at MacinTech. MacVoices is sponsored by Upstart, fair and fast personal loans. Go to upstart.com/MacVoices and find out how Upstart can lower your monthly payments. Welcome to MacVoices. This is the talk of the Apple community, and I'm Chuck Joyner. Folks, this is part 3 in a 3-part conversation presentation to the MacinTech User Group in Colorado with Jeff Gamet and Mark Stevenson. We've talked about how to buy things, what we have already bought, how to configure them. This time around, Mark explains why he bought a new iMac now, what some of his customers are looking for, and we also take some questions from the audience. Let's go right back and let them do the talking. Mark, you obviously bought the iMac. Do you not see yourself as a mobile computing person, or did you just want the big screen?
Well, it's a combination of reasons. I consider my primary machine my 2017 loaded up MacBook Pro. And that's what I travel with. That's what I go and when I visit clients with, and that's my primary machine. The iMac is the machine that's here in the office that I share with my wife. We each have our own IDs on that. It certainly has the bigger screen, so anytime that there's photo editing, that's what it gets done on that. She also finds it easier to do Microsoft Word kind of things that, even though she should be using Pages for Keynote, all kind of things, but generally uses it for that. This iMac is really portrayed as being an entry-level home machine that can be shared with multiple people. And that's how we intend to use it here, with upgraded components on all kind of things. The screen's better, the speakers are better, the camera's better, the storage is better, on and on it goes. So even comparing to a machine that's just 4 years old, it's a better machine but it's a basic machine. I do video editing as well. I do oral histories and I edit those and a bunch of stuff. So I've got Final Cut Pro and I've got iMovie and Clips and all those things, and I use the product that needs to be used depending on the project involved. I've got all my storage on Thunderbolt drives, so I look forward that I can plug those in and get the high transfer rate on any of the video stuff that I'm doing on that. So to answer your question, I'm not quite ready, as Jeff alluded to as well, to ditch my MacBook Pro as my primary device and use the iMac instead, because it doesn't work for me in the travel situations. But I'm in a situation with my 2017 MacBook Pro where my storage of a terabyte SSD is limited. I'm pretty full on it, and I've used probably 30% of the battery over the 3 or 4 year period of time. I went into the Apple store and they quoted me a couple $100 to replace the battery. So the dilemma I've had over the last few months, looking at the rumor sites, would be, do I spend the $200, upgrade the battery, and then continue to use it for another couple of years? Or do I wait for the elusive MacBook Pro M1X, M2, whatever it's going to be called, whenever it's coming out? Some of the recent things I've listened to here earlier are predicting that, well, gee, you're not going to see it in the summer, and September is iPhone month. So that means October at the earliest. And so I'm trying to hang on with my MacBook Pro laptop, but I also wanted to get some experience with the M1 to see what some of the limitations would be. I run Windows 10 as a virtual client on my MacBook Pro now, my Intel MacBook Pro now, running under VMware Fusion, which I don't think has been ported to the M1 chip. So I wouldn't be able to run that if I went to a newer or the current M1 MacBook Pro today. So I've got some dilemmas coming up at this point, but I'm really seeing the iMac as a technology upgrade on a shared machine in a non-professional type of environment. a home
Mark, since it's
environment.
not
That's
my
how
money,
I think it's geared. What's that?
since it's not my money, it's so easy for me to know what to do in your situation. For me, I look at what you're doing with your laptop. That's a business machine. And you have very specific needs, which right now include needing to have that Intel processor. Therefore, $200 new battery and call it good. And then when the time comes that you need whatever the next Mac laptop is, then you buy it. Now you sell the Intel Mac because at that point you won't need it anymore, and it's worth more because it has a good battery.
Right. And that's probably what's going to happen. But right now, I don't know what's coming, though I have hopes of what will come. I have a lot of clients that are in the same situation that I'm advising them to wait. I advise them to look and saying, what happened at the spring event from Apple? And then I advise them to say, well, maybe WWDC in June and something will come out then and they'll talk about hardware. Well, not a piece of hardware was discussed at WWDC. And so now, for the kind of equipment they're looking for of new upgraded M1X MacBook Pros, it's probably October.
Yeah.
But I don't know that.
But you also have the Windows question.
I do have the Windows
question. You really can't do anything until that becomes available.
That's correct. You know, the Windows, most of my consulting work is Mac-centric, but occasionally there's a Windows thing that comes up. So I'm still debating what to do with the 2017 iMac that I just replaced. Do I keep that, or do I run it on one of the other Macs that I had that is running, that I've kept over the years? So I have some decisions to make, but I don't need to make them right now.
So in other words, we're in a time of transition, and we've been through these transitions before, and we've had some of these same concerns. Maybe some of the names of the programs have changed, but it's just the way it is. Once Apple makes the transition over to the M series complete, then we'll know where we stand. But right now, yeah, it's kind of a crazy time.
Chuck, I even took the opportunity today to see, now that I have an M1 machine, to run an iPad app on my M1 iMac. Never had that ability to do that before. And I've also tested successfully, since I have new enough hardware, Sidecar and continuity and all the other things. And there's more of that coming when the next operating systems come out in the fall.
Yeah. So to wrap this up, I think we've justified or explained why it makes sense to buy high, to buy what you need, not what you want, but what you need. And is it fair? I don't want to put words in either one of your mouths, but is it fair to say, give some of these new products a try, even if you're not replacing one that's in the same category? And I'm thinking specifically about the HomePod Minis and the AirTags, because they are useful, again, if you have the need.
Yeah, absolutely. They're at a low price point, and you don't risk a lot. And you can probably make them work for you.
Well, and like I said just mere moments ago, it's really easy for me to spend someone else's money. So yeah, totally. If nothing else, get an AirTag and play around with it, because it's just really interesting technology. And for $30, I mean, you get to learn a lot about how your device is interacting, especially if you have an iPhone 11 or newer, because that's where you get to take advantage of all the features of that new AirTag.
Chuck, Jeff, it depends on situations, I think. I've got an iPad Air that came out in 2019. So for me to upgrade to the newest iPad Pro didn't make a lot of sense at that point. On the laptop, I've got a 4-year-old laptop and I had a 4-year-old iMac. Well, it made sense to upgrade the iMac. I'm not quite sure, because of the discussion I had earlier, whether it's time to upgrade the MacBook Pro laptop yet. So that's going to wait till the fall.
Right. And we're talking about the iPad Pro, but the iPad Air is a perfectly capable machine for just about anything that most people want to do. So you don't necessarily need to go to the Pro line. You can still spend a whole lot less money, get an iPad Air, and probably be, pardon me, very, very happy with it.
Chuck,
yes,
I think that
I have
iPad
been
Air,
because and I don't do Pro apps, and I don't consider it my production machine. So I've even used it to install betas of iPad OS in the past. I haven't done that yet this time.
Mm-hmm. Jeff?
Chuck, the iPad Air is, it's been a long day. I didn't think for a second. Who am I? Who are you? What show are we doing? What day is this? Yeah. And I got it all sorted out now.
Mark's the guy with the beard.
Mark's the guy with the beard. Got it. Anyhow, iPad. Oh crap! There's three guys with beards.
And Bruce. Yep.
Oh shoot. Okay.
Anyhow, iPad Air. It I think is underpriced for the features that it has. That makes it a really good value. I
was going to say, you said underpriced. Yeah.
It is underpriced for the features that it has.
That's part of the reason why I bought it, because I thought it was the best value for the performance that you could get right at that time. That was situational. At this point, the iPad Air had been upgraded and the iPad Pro had not been. So there were newer chips in the iPad Air. So I jumped on it.
Sure.
Absolutely.
And I gave my old iPad, and I gave my old iPad to my granddaughter, who's been thrilled to have it now as her very own iPad.
How old's your granddaughter, Mom?
She's almost 7.
Oh, well,
you're a really good grandpa.
Her parents bought her a new case, nice pink one, a lot of padding, but they're thrilled. And I was too, because it stayed in the family.
Now, see, I've got bad news for you. Now, she's 7 now. By the time she gets to 10, she's going to want the iPad Pro with the 2 terabyte storage, because she'll be doing so many advanced things that she'll be so far beyond any of us. You know, that's just the way it works.
That's why she has parents.
Wait, I thought that was grandparents. No, never mind.
We should take just a minute to see if anyone has a question.
You took the words right out of my mouth, Andy. I was thinking exactly the same thing. Yes, we've been doing a lot of chattering here. Folks, what have we not addressed? What questions could we answer for you?
Question. Has anyone drilled a hole in their AirTags yet to put on a keychain?
No, and don't do it.
No.
Well, don't do it on mine. Actually, for $30, go ahead and do it and let me know if it works for you. I'm an enabler tonight, clearly.
Yes.
Okay. The reason I say don't do it is because once you drill through that plastic part, it's not water resistant anymore.
And there's this little matter of a warranty too.
God, $30, who cares? Like I said, enabler, and I'm spending other people's money. This is easy for me.
I'm just hoping AirTags 2 or 3 will have the little dingly thing that you can use to attach it to things, because I think the ones that they're selling are too expensive.
Andy, I bought a Belkin one, I think, for about $13.
I guess that's not too bad.
Oh, I can do better than that. Just go to Amazon and Google AirTag case, and you can get 3 of them for like $10. Now, they may not look as sexy and they're not rich Corinthian leather, but, you know, I don't need rich Corinthian leather wrapped around my AirTag.
Are you
Isn't that one like $100? The leather one? It was some outrageous price.
Yeah.
I 3D printed a few cases for them that seemed to work. But,
oh, there you go.
Andy, the Hermes tag holders that Apple's selling, the prices are absolutely crazy. But what makes it even more crazy is if you go and look at other products in that same
category,
part of the spectrum. Yes, category. Thank you. And the Hermes ones that Apple is selling are actually the budget models. Absolutely crazy.
I did not know that, Jeff. What kind of price is for the top end?
You can go up over $1,000 easy for those designer holders for AirTags or tile or luggage tags. I mean, it is crazy how much money you can spend.
I think I'll just order 4 from David.
So
okay,
I got
so
to do
here's a question for all of you. Let's assume that it's now Christmas. So the new products are out. What's on your wish list? Chuck?
Sorry, I just had to do a calculation of how many AirTags I could buy for a $1,000 AirTag case. This edition of MacVoices is sponsored by Upstart, fast and fair personal loans. Go to upstart.com/MacVoices and find out how Upstart can lower your monthly payments. If you dread looking at that credit card statement each month, you're not alone. Debt can feel crippling, but Upstart can help you on your path to financial freedom. Upstart can give you a free 5-minute online rate check so that you can see your rate upfront for a loan from $1,000 to $50,000. That's a loan that can help you with credit card debt, high interest debt, or just funding personal expenses. Join the over 500,000 people who have already used Upstart to get one fixed monthly payment and a smarter rate. Right now, find out how Upstart can lower your monthly payments today when you go to upstart.com/MacVoices. That's upstart.com/MacVoices. Don't forget to use my URL so they know I sent you. Loan amounts will be determined based on your credit, income, and certain other information provided in your loan application. Go to upstart.com/MacVoices right now and take control of your financial future. Thanks to Upstart for their support of MacVoices. You know, that's an interesting question. I guess sort of along the lines of what Mark's said. My primary driver my daily driver is my MacBook Pro. And so I would love to see, I'm anxious to see what the next iteration is going to be of the 15-inch MacBook Pro. With an M1X or M2, whatever they call it. Because if my experiences on my M1 MacBook are any indication, that machine is just going to scream. And that's going to be probably my next upgrade. Even though this one is doing okay, and it's probably the most powerful laptop I can buy right now. That would be my number one on my Christmas wish list.
Okay, Jeff, you get to spend your wife's money now. What do you get?
First, I'll have to get a wife so that I can spend her money.
Andy's volunteering.
Okay, so Andy, we'll have to pick out the china, but also I need your credit card. And what I would like to see, like Chuck, is the next pro level Mac laptop. And I'm thinking whatever Apple does with the 16-inch model is probably going to make it very difficult for me to stay excited about my long-term plan, which is Mac Mini on the desk and iPad Pro on the go, because I'm betting whatever Apple does with the MacBook Pro with the next M series processor is just going to make my my brain explode and my pocketbook as well.
Yeah.
Andy's pocketbook.
Andy's pocketbook.
Okay, and then lastly, Mark.
I echo Chuck.
Wow. I must have hit it out of the park.
Personally, I want the MacBook Air. What I use it for doesn't need heavy duty anything, but I wouldn't mind a newer one.
Okay, Andy.
For a lot of people, excuse me, Chuck.
Go ahead.
For a lot of people, it depends on the age of the equipment they have now on whether they're really in the sweet spot to upgrade. And for a lot of people, that's on machines that are 4 years or more old. They're in the sweet spot, whether you're talking about a MacBook Pro from 2015, which a lot of people still have, or an iPad that's older than Jeff's at this point, or the first generation of the iPad Pro. Those people are the target market for these new iPad Pros, whether the 11-inch model or the 12.9-inch model.
And then one person we haven't heard from is Chris, who tends to be right on the cutting edge.
Yeah, Chris.
Yeah. So what are you looking for, Chris?
Chuck said it. I really, really want whatever they come up with next for the MacBook Pro. I'm currently working on a 2014 MacBook Pro that I loaded. I spent like almost $4,000 on when I bought it back in 2014, and it's still working just fine for me and for my Final Cut Pro work. But yeah, I would love to see something like an M2 with 32 gig. Oh, I would eat that up. Yeah, I'd go broke for that.
I find it interesting. Nobody's mentioned any iPhones.
Well, they're not in the mix.
I just got my iPhone 12 Pro, just a couple months ago, which I'm very, very happy with. They put LiDAR on everything because I love this new LiDAR stuff, and I'm really looking forward to playing with that. So I don't need a new phone. I've got one. And my next buy is the iPad Pro, and I'm just sitting here debating between the 11 and the 12.9. 12.9 is just a little big for me in terms of portability.
Yeah, but do you need the video processing horsepower? If you do, you have to go 12.9, at least a terabyte.
I'm pretty happy editing in Final Cut Pro on my MacBook Pro right now. It's still chugging along just fine. So I don't know.
Yeah, there's one other consideration too for upgrades that I think is becoming more and more important, and that is how far back Apple will support what operating systems. Mm-hmm. From a security standpoint, from a privacy standpoint, from a safety standpoint, you have to look at your machines and say, okay, now if a machine has been deprecated and or the mm-hmm. OS that it's running has been deprecated, should I still run it if it's connected to the internet? I mean, if you use it for photo processing and you're willing to do, a sneaker net kind of thing over and not connect it to a network, you're fine. Do whatever you want with it. But other than that, I think you really have to start paying attention to some of that. Because I've got a couple Macs here that are old enough that now I can no longer load a currently supported version of the operating system on. And yeah, it makes me a little nervous to have them on the network because they're points of vulnerability.
Yeah. Fortunately, my MacBook Pro can still go up to Big Sur. I'm running Catalina now, but it can still go to Big Sur, can still be updated. But heaven only knows with the next one out.
Yeah. Andy, we ran over a little time. I hope that's okay, but it's been a great discussion.
Sure enough. This was quite enjoyable. I wish more of you had asked questions.
Well, this is your last chance then. If anybody else have anything?
I'm curious, Mark Stevenson, you mentioned buying a new TV with all the options out there. I'm curious what you finally selected.
I selected a 40-inch TCL 4K TV. And my limiting factor was in my living room, the case would only support a 40-inch wide TV. So nominally, it's a 43-inch TV, but it came in at width at about 38 point something, so I could fit it into the cabinet. So I was using a Sony Bravia that was probably 10 years old, and the color had faded, and I was having trouble in low light situations on the screen of actually picking up any of the details. So I took advantage of Amazon Prime Day, plus a gift certificate for Father's Day from my daughter. And I was able to pick up a TV that would fit into my opening for a couple $100.
Nice.
And it's running
Very
Roku.
nice.
And it's running Roku at this point. But it also has a link with the Amazon Echo that we have in the house. And so I can basically train my wife, which I've done, and my granddaughter to say, Alexa, open up the Roku TV app. And they think that's pretty cool.
I can do an unsolicited approval of the TCL. I mean, it's got to be one of the best TV values out there for the money, because I've had one now for about 4 years. I have the 65-inch model, but I bought it for a song, and I have never looked back. Never been. I mean, sure, you go into the big box stores, and again, you got 25 TVs to look at. Well, the Bravias are absolutely gorgeous. But unless I'm doing side by side, when I come home and put a movie on that thing, it just looks great, and I'm more than happy. So,
yeah, I've been happy too, Chuck, realizing the limitation of the 43-inch screen. It's an entry-level TV. Yeah, they don't make high-end TVs in the 43-inch class, so I was limited in terms of what I was getting. So I was thinking, well, let's give it a try. And it's Amazon. I can return it if I don't like it. But it's more than met my expectations so far. And the remote control that comes with it is much easier for my wife to operate, because she struggled with the Apple TV HD remote and had some difficulty with here in Colorado, whatever, it's CenturyLink is one of the internet providers. And they had a video service called Prism, which a few months ago, they just all of a sudden said, we're discontinuing that. You need to find a different provider. Well, when I looked around at that point, Comcast did not have an Apple TV app. So I would have had to have done AirPlay and a few other things I didn't want to do. So I ended up picking AT&T TV as a service, which is a streaming thing. And that's created some training issues. So now with this new TV and the remote app, and they have a great Apple TV app as part of that smart TV, it's a lot easier for my wife to navigate and find 9 News, Channel 9 News, which NBC, which is most of what she wants to do and has trouble sometimes finding.
Thank you.
Mark, you go back to Lowe's, pick up one of those HomePods, but also pick up like a $40 saw and just cut your case away, and then you can get the 65-inch. Your wife will never know the difference.
Problem solved.
Yep.
I think my wife wants a little bit bigger than that. She wants us to downsize, move into a different home where we can have a bigger TV.
I like your wife's sense of priorities.
A smaller home and a bigger TV?
A smaller home, but a bigger opening where she can put a TV on the stand.
I like this.
Downsizing the house may make the TV look larger.
Yes. Yes.
Any other questions, folks, before we wrap it up for the night?
Well, you guys have been quiet today.
Yeah. What did you tell them, Andy?
Chuck is just so intimidating.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Jeff, one thing you're not is intimidating.
Dell usually has something to say.
Yeah. And Dell's been quiet. Jim's been quiet. Becky's been quiet. My gosh, people. Well, this has been a wonderful program. Thank you so much for really enlightening us on all this new stuff and where to go. And I guess there's AirTags in my future.
Lowe's. Everybody should go to Lowe's.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for having us. This was a whole lot of fun. And Jeff, thank you for taking the time. Mark, thank you for your contributions. I have thoroughly enjoyed this.
This has been a lot of fun.
Absolutely awesome.
Yep.
Thank you. So folks, he's the one that's going to sign us off.
I'm going to sign us off. I'm going to say thank you for the folks that are still listening in the live stream. Thank you for joining us. We really appreciate it. And to everybody else out there who is watching this on the recorded version, thank you for checking it out. I hope maybe we've given you some things to think about as you buy your next Apple products and spend money and drive that stock up. Until the next time, I'm Chuck Joyner. This is Mac Voices. Thanks for watching. Visit MacVoices.com for show notes and to connect with Chuck on social media. Get involved in our Facebook group or like our Facebook page, and get more out of your Apple tech with Mac Voices magazine, free on Flipboard and on the web. And if you find value in it all, consider supporting us through either our Patreon campaign at patreon.com/MacVoices or by making a one-time donation via the PayPal link on our front page and in the show notes of each episode. You will join these fine people who help bring you Mac Voices. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media at backbeatmedia.com. Bandwidth provided by CacheFly at cachefly.com.